Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to learn how to upload a file to S3 using Python. There are multiple ways which we can use to accomplish this. So let's get started. Before we can write our Python code, you should have a IAM user which has S3 read and write access already configured on your machine. You can once you have that user configured, we can use that user to perform our S3 operations. I have already created a video where I have shown you how to create an S3 user and configure on your machine. I will put that link in the description, and if you don't have that user configured, please follow tutorial from that video, and once you set up that video you can get started with this one. So let's get started here. So with Python we have to import our boto3 library, which and okay, let's import the boto3 library, which should give us all the functions that needed to upload a file to S3. So the first method we are going to learn is to use the client object, so that we can say that S3 client equal to boto3 dot client and the get client for S3, and this should give us the client class, and we can use that to upload file from our system to S3. I have already created one file, this sample file, which we will upload to our one of our S3 bucket. Let's say that we want to upload it to this binary guy from Python 1 bucket. As you can see, there are currently no objects in this bucket. So let's change that, and there's a simple function that we want to do is first that we need S3 client, that is upload file. That function is named aptly, so we don't have to think much. And then this function takes three parameters. First one is the file name that we want to upload. Let me just put those here. The second one is the bucket name, where we want to upload that file, and the third one is the key name, object name. So let's say your file currently is named as samplefile.txt, and maybe in S3 you want something different name for that. In that case you will use the object name. So all these three parameters we need. So I have already created those parameters, and let me just copy paste those here. Yeah, and our file name in this case is samplefile.txt. So let's try to run this program and see what we get. And if we try to run this, we should get error. And if you already know what that error is, that's good to know. So it will say that the samplefile.txt is not found, and this is happening because it doesn't know where that this samplefile.txt is present on your system. To get around this, there are a couple of ways that we can pass. There is one way is we can hard code the path and pass the entire path of that file, and entire path of that file here, and then it will work. But another way is we can dynamically create that path and use that instead of hard coding that one. We can also use OS function, so that our path will be built properly on Windows as well as Linux and Mac OS systems. So I have again that there is let me just add that code here, so that will we can see how it works. So if you see this, the join path will create, the first thing is this pathlib function, which will give you the current directory, and this join path os path.join function will append this path correctly depending on which OS you are running your code. So if it is a Mac or Linux, it will use the forward slash, and in case of Windows it will use double forward slash. So that's how it will create the path. So now that our path is correct, let's try to run this code again. And if we run it now, we won't get any output, and we are not in printing anything as well. But even if we are printing this response, we will see none because this function doesn't return anything. But if it doesn't return anything, that means our operation is successful, and let's see if that is true. Let's refresh here, and we can see that our file has been uploaded, the sample1.txt. The same process we can follow using the S3 resource object as well. The process is pretty much same, so I am copying the code, but in in your case you can write it. I just don't want to bore you with uh, me typing this and making spelling mistake. But the resource object is one of the simpler one of the I would say the resource object is built on top of client object and offers us a simpler ways which we can use Boto3 library. So in this case, first we will create the bucket object, uh, and then use this bucket object to upload the file. We'll rename it, so we will have clear separation S3 resource, and that is what we are using it to get the bucket object. And then that bucket object we are using it, and using that bucket object we are uploading that file. So where this will be useful is when you are dealing with multiple buckets in the same Python script. So in this case you can name your bucket according to your need. So let's say bucket 1, bucket 2, and that way you will have idea about where to which bucket you want to upload that file. So now if we run this code again, so even if we are running the first code, it will just overwrite that file. It's not a big deal for tutorial. So now let's see if we have sample 2.txt, and as you can see, the same operation has been performed, but using the resource class of the Boto3. Now the next thing that we want to learn is what if we want to want a fine grained control over our upload. So let's say you want to encrypt your object when you write it to S3, or you want to add a different ACL or access permissions to that object. And if you don't know anything about access permissions, for now just bear with me. I will create a tutorial about that shortly. So in that case, if we need a fine-grained control over object uploads, we can use the put object function. So there are different parameters that we can pass to put object function, which will give us different options like encryption and ACL and metadata. So let's see how we can use that. Both resource and client classes of Boto3 have that put object command. Let's say we want to use this S3 resource in this case. So S3 resource that put object, and this put object will take different parameters. So let's say what it needs. The first thing we can pass is what file we want to upload to S3, and in this case is our file name. Then let me just copy paste, so that will be easy. Next thing that we are passing is the ACL, and by ACL we mean what kind of access this object will have in S3. Then we are also encrypting our object while say writing it to the S3, and we can also give the different key name. Let's say in this case our key name is the sample3.txt, and we can check those details on console if it creates with the proper key name. And then the metadata is like a key value pair that you are adding it for the objects, and we will be again using the bucket object which we have already created to write to upload this file to S3. So now if I run this, let's see what happens. Let me also print this and see what we get. This response 3 has printed this name, and we can see that it is saying that to this bucket it has created this sample3.txt key. So let's see if that is true, and we can refresh it. And yeah, it is created, but we also want to check if it has encrypted our data and put ACL as private or not, and our also metadata it has added or not. So if we see this file, it is uploaded, and it shows that our encryption has enabled. And if we go back and check for the other files, let's say for sample2.txt, it will show the encryption as disabled. Yeah, here you can say that encryption has disabled. Again, we can also check if our tags have been added or not. So yeah, here you can see that environment as dev and owner as binary cat. These tags have been added to this sample3.txt. So this is how we can add files to S3, and uh, also have fine-grained control. And if you want to learn more about this put object command, I will put link in the description. But you can also check the Boto3 Boto3 documentation. It's pretty good if you want to learn more about all the options that you can pass to this command. So you can, here you can see that there are a lot of options here which you can pass to this put object, which can decide how your object will be treated in S3. The next and last thing that we want to learn in this tutorial is how you can pass the binary data to S3. So let's say you already have a binary data as output from some operation. So how would you write that data, or how as an object in S3? One of the option you can think of is like you can create a file on your local machine with that binary data and then upload that file. But there is an easier way. We can use upload file object function, which is provided by Boto3, which can upload the binary data instead of file. So the syntax for that is pretty much same as the upload file, but in this case we will be just passing the binary data. So let me just I don't have binary data, but I can open our file in the binary format with b parameter, and then then write the file to S3. And in this case we are using again the client, and this upload file object method is available for S3 client as well as S3 resource. And let me just change the object name so we can see the difference. In this case we will say sample4.txt, and this should write this object to S3. So let me just run this. In this case it will open the file in the binary format, and that data will be returned to S3 with sample4.txt as our key name. So it has already finished that operation. So let's see if we have that file there or not. And yeah, as you can see, there is already sample4.txt created, which is from our binary data. So these are the different ways that you can use to upload your files to S3 from your local machine. So I hope you have found this useful. In the next tutorial, we will see how to list or list the files in S3, the different ways that we can use to get our tasks done. Maybe we want to just list files from one bucket or one object, one folder. We will go over that. If you are interested in that video, please subscribe to channel and enable the notifications. And if you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section. I will try to answer as much as possible. See you in the next video. Thank you.